All right, everybody, welcome back. We are going to have an amazing 20 minutes here. I brought my friend Keith Gillespie on, and we are going to talk about the one thing in your business that I guarantee you are screwing up. And I know because I've been doing this for 22 years, and it was one of the things that I messed up badly. So, Keith, welcome. Appreciate you jumping on here this afternoon.
Thank you.
What is the one thing that people are messing up in their business, man?
I think that the biggest thing that I see, especially with newer entrepreneurs, as they're getting into the business, is that they don't systemize anything. They do it and then they recreate it. They do it again. They don't write anything down. They don't document it. And if it's not documented, how can it be improved?
Yeah. So, but the new wholesaler is going to say probably what I would have said is, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. How can I write it down and document it? Where do I even start with that kind of stuff?
That's totally fine. Let's go Grant Cardone really quick, like massive and perfect action. Just do 10 times. Just go out and do it the first time. However, I know that when you want to scale your business and you want to automate this, if you want to delegate this to other people, set them up for success, you have to put them in a box. And what I mean by that is giving them a structure. Here's the SOP to follow. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's why we do it this way.
Yeah.
And if there's no SOP, there's no system, there's no structure. Therefore, you are literally setting them up for failure from the get-go.
Right. One of the things that we say in our company is simple is scalable. So we try not to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
So the way that I started with this, and first off, I went years and years and years with no system, and that was one of the things that we definitely implemented and allowed us to scale our company up.
Yeah.
But literally, like you're saying, every time we did it, we did it a little bit different. I remember one time I had these 3 girls who were doing dispo for me, and I talked to them, and one morning I'm like, hey, Cassandra, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm doing this, this, and this. And hey, Rachel, what are you doing? I'm doing that, this, and the other thing. And the third girl, Taylor, she was doing it. And I'm like, girls, we're supposed to be doing 10 things and you're doing 6, and you're all doing 6 different things.
Yes.
No wonder we're not getting any traction and going out there and doing it. So yeah, I 100% agree. Just start writing something down, right? Say, whatever the first 2 or 3 steps are, and then you follow that. And then the more you do it, maybe you just kind of fill in and make it a little more detailed. Is that what you suggest?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people struggle, frankly, with discipline and not doing, because it's boring, right? Picking up the phone, doing the same thing, going through the same script, talking. It gets a little bit boring. And so people want to have variety in their life and switch it up. And this is actually a really bad thing because it leads to inconsistent inputs. And so if you were to think about, just think about 4 corners of the United States: Seattle, Washington, San Diego, California, Washington, D.C., and some Miami, Florida. You walk into a McDonald's. I call this the Mickey D's method. If you walk into McDonald's and you order what is that thing called? A freaking Big Mac, right? It's going to come out looking the same, smelling the same, and tasting the same. Well, why is that? Because it's the same ingredients and it's the same process. So consistency in our inputs results in consistency in our outputs. We can expect to have a duplicatable result or outcome because of this. And too often people are not disciplined in their inputs. They're not picking, their speed to lead is super slow. They're not calling consistently. They're not calling their leads every single day until they can get them on a triage call. And so this, it's because they don't have a system that they're following. They're kind of just winging it.
It's interesting. One of my mentors and good friends, she said the same thing. Like, getting rich is not exciting or sexy. It's literally doing the same thing just over and over and over again, and developing that system. But I love that you talk about McDonald's. If you guys have not seen this, the greatest movie out there for like entrepreneurs is The Founder with Michael Keaton, where he plays Ray Kroc, the guy who started McDonald's. He definitely took McDonald's and expanded it, right? Like you could love the guy or hate the guy. he does get the credit. But one of the fantastic things in the movie is where they go into like this gymnasium and they literally like tape out the kitchen of a McDonald's.
Yeah.
And they try to simplify and shorten all the movements so that literally you could bring in a 16-year-old and teach them how to run that business. And 16 to 20-year-olds run McDonald's, which is a bazillion-dollar, trillion-dollar business, whatever they're doing. And they can do that because they have a simple and scalable system, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you even bring McDonald's up, because that is one of my favorite movies.
Well, it's because I watched that video and the whole thing when he was writing. I'm pretty sure it was either tape or chalk.
One of those
in the actual story, right? And he was originally, it was like, you're running into each other. You have to go across the floor. Like, this is retarded. You need to create efficiencies in your business so that you can collapse time and get a little bit more traction. And that really made a mark on me. And then a year or two later, I read the book Principles by Ray Dalio. It's a huge book. It's dry read. It's about the size of a freaking dictionary, but it's amazing. And really what he breaks it down to is you need to simplify your life all the way down to your principles. Not here's what to do, but here's why I do it. And if you can get down to your core principles, then when you're faced with a new thing that you've never, it's a new challenge, it's a new problem, it's a new hurdle, it's a new obstacle that you've never faced before, you don't know what to do because you've never been there. That's okay, because we can go back to our principles and make a decision based off of this principle. And that also creates efficiencies and systems within our business.
So would that be like your core values?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be, but let's bring it into a really direct and applicable use of that. It's like in our triage call, our first call with the seller, we're always going to ask this one question. Well, the reason why we're asking this question, again, coming from the Marine Corps, it's not exactly what to do. I'm never going to tell another Marine what to do. It's his own leadership that he needs to display, his own initiative in order to accomplish the mission. I don't care how he does it. I just give him the commander's intent. I give him the intent. At the end of the day, I don't care how as long as we're following all ethical and legal moral boundaries, I don't care how you get to said result. I care that this result is achieved, and here is why. So is there a mortgage that we'll need to take care of when we buy the house, or is it free and clear? You can get all sorts of resistance when asking a seller that question. That's personal information. What the hell is it to you? Whatever. And it's like, you have to overcome those objections. Why? Because it matters when we're trying to structure creative financing. I have to know about how much is on the mortgage balance. I have to know about how much you're going to be walking away at the closing table, so that I can now come into our second conversation and have this. And so, yes, core values is important, but the practical application can be really applied across everything that we do in our business. Every sentence, every script, every way that we analyze a deal, same exact thing.
I think that's amazing. And again, kind of going back to the founder and McDonald's and the 16-year-olds, we as the owner and the entrepreneur, we maybe, I don't want to say think at a higher level, but we definitely are looking at more things and can judge things a lot more rapidly. But if I want to bring in people, if I want to bring in that 16-year-old, right, I want to bring in that person from the outside to operate within my business, I think it's incredibly important that we do have SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures that we can say, hey, little Bobby, this is your job. This is how you go through it, right?
Yeah.
But it's also important to monitor that and say, is what I wrote, does it work? Like, that's a living, breathing document, right? It's not like we write it one time and it's good for the rest of our lives.
You refine it every time.
Sure, right? We have to look at it and say, hey, is this working? Is it understandable, right? Can the person who's coming in, can they execute it? And then is it getting me the results I want? And if not, I can go back and start to tweak that. So I think that's absolutely amazing. And probably coming, I don't know if people will jump into it real fast here, but you were in the Marine Corps, you were stationed all over the world doing deals back in the United States, and of course on all kinds of different time zones. So I clearly, coming out of the military, SOPs are very, very important. My son was in the Navy, and he would tell me that the directions for stuff were literally written at like a second grade level.
Yes. Yeah. Let me talk.
Like, it was so dumb.
I want to talk on that point really, really briefly. So I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old, and the majority of Marines, 18, 19, 20, 20, and 21 and 22, like the more than 60% of the Marine Corps is that age group.
Wow.
So let's talk about the Marine Corps as a business. So I'm wearing the shirt. 1776 is when America was founded, if you will. But believe it or not, the Marine Corps actually predates America. So 1775 is the inception of the Marine Corps. So
Nice.
we have now been in business for 250 years. Okay. Yeah. How in the world? This will blow your mind when you think about the Marine Corps as a business. You have a bunch of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22-year-olds that think about this. Marine Corps boot camp, roughly 90 days. Once you graduate boot camp, then you go to Marine Combat Training, MCT. That's roughly another month. So they break you down and they build you back up over 120 days. You're now a fresh 18-year-old. You're a child. You don't know freaking anything. They give you an M16, or now it's an M4. They ship your ass to Afghanistan and they say, go fight America's battles. Mm-hmm. Think about how ludicrous that sounds for a moment. That doesn't seem like a winning business model. Yet, here we are, older than America, still doing the same exact thing. So like, let's break this down. How does that work? It's because they have SOPs for absolutely everything. And it's so much like, listen to this. We have a, you can almost call it a law. As a civilian, I'm not going to get all nerdy with the Marine Corps, but you have this law: instant and willing obedience to all lawful orders. You don't even have to know what to do. You've never done it before. So I can't expect you to, but just listen to me. I will guide you. Instant and willing obedience to all lawful orders. I'm going to give you an order. You follow it. Why? Because I've been in your shoes. I've done it 15,000 times. Yeah. And I know how to do it without dying. So go do that.
Yeah. So I think that goes to, how we relate that into our business. First of all, that'd be fantastic, right? If everybody on our team would, what'd you say, like unconscious or willing obedience, whatever that'd be.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. But I can't even get my dogs to obey me. But I think in your business, the way that you do that is first of all, it works in the Marine Corps because you have 250-year history. And clearly it's proven that, they're the greatest fighting force on earth. So, and, again, also thank you for your service. But in our businesses, our team, the people that are on our team have to understand the vision, right? Kind of what you were talking about at the very beginning.
Intent.
And you want to find people who believe in that vision and that intent and want to be on that journey with you, right? That's going to be the first step. And then making sure that, we're servant leaders and we lead from the front and, we're willing to do anything that we ask them to do. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. And again, let's talk practicality here, like some action items that you can do. We build almost all of our SOPs in one of two places. We use a technology called ScribeHow, and it literally it records your screen. So you do a task and it will record your screen click by click by click, and it will say click here, whatever. And you can go back in it and it's 90% of the way done. It includes screenshots and a big old freaking, here's where the mouse button was,
Yeah. We'll put a link to this in the notes here too.
Yeah. And so it's 90% done. Then you can go back and edit the, click here and add your notes or whatever. So we do a lot of our SOPs that way. And then the second place that we do it is in Asana, which is simply it's to-dos, right? So like here's a task and then here's a subtask. And sometimes those subtasks have subtasks. Sometimes those subtasks have subtasks. So we'll go 3, 4, 5, 6 levels deep.
Oh, wow.
In order to make sure that everything is done. And so this is when I say like instant and willing obedience to all lawful orders, that's how the Marine Corps envisions it. But here in our business, again, if we want to step outside, work on the business rather than in the business, and ultimately bring somebody else in to delegate this work to, you have to set them up for success by giving them, here's the box in which you operate. Let me show you what I did, how I did it, why I did it this way. Follow these directions. I've been there. I've laid the groundwork. Follow it in my path. And like you said, it's not set in stone. Make it better. And every time you make it better, go redo the SOP.
Nice. So, okay. So I don't want anybody to be overwhelmed. You're like, oh my God, it's a thing and a subtask and the way that I would do it, and tell me if you agree, is like, let's start basic. Let's just, start with the big things, right?
Yeah.
Let's get all that. And the way I ever do presentations or SOPs or courses or outlines is I want to just start with the kind of the big stuff first, right?
Yeah.
I don't do like number 1 and then go 19 levels deep and then, right. Like I want to break it into some maybe 5, 6, 10 manageable things. And then from there, go back and kind of do another layer and then another layer and another layer, right?
Yep.
Because you don't want to because if you're trying to be so detailed on the first step, you'll never get to the second step.
Dude, and it's just nobody likes doing that crap.
No, especially not, right? This is incredibly hard for entrepreneurs because our personality is not, we're not the paperwork people. We hate, I hate paperwork. You probably hate paperwork. The people listening, you know, that are interested in these types of things, we know it's important, right? And that was always a struggle for me. I knew that I should be doing these things. Well, for a long time, I ignored them, and then I knew I should be doing them. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to finally do this. But one thing, I don't know if you've ever read "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell. Fantastic book. If you guys haven't read it, it's amazing. Changed my life a year ago. But he, you know, he says if you've already got a business up and running and you don't have SOPs, have the people in that position do up
create them for you,
create them, and then you can go in there and tweak them, because a lot of times we don't know all the things or all the steps that are, especially if you've already built out your business some. You know, the guy that does all my video production, Matthew, who's standing here just off camera, I have no idea how to go into Canva and do any of those things, but he can do that, so that when I hire a second person, a third person, now we have something where we can help to train those people.
Yeah. And so not only is it duplicatable for people in the future, but also when you refine these processes, again, going all the way back to our very first topic, if you have this person doing this their own way and this person doing it their own way, number one, that's inconsistent inputs, therefore it will lead to inconsistent outputs. But also, because what they're doing is not documented, how can you make it better? You don't even know what is going on. And so until it's documented and you can go back and say, like, this didn't work because of X, Y, and Z, this created delays because of miscommunication, whatever it is, you know, it really helps refine your business at an exponential level. I think that, you know, what you said in the beginning of, like, just get the big things done. You need to have like a done is better than perfect mentality. Just get it done and then get it better later on.
Yeah, it's so easy to get distracted and, you know, get tied up in the minutia. And sometimes our brain does that as a defense mechanism. Right? It's like the most primal part of our brain, which is don't go out of the cave and get eaten by the T-Rex, right? You know, where our brain is like, don't go out and talk to people because they're going to tell you no and hurt your feelings. But, you know, and because of that, we'll like get sidetracked and do, oh, I got to design the perfect business card. I got to get my CRM.
Oh my gosh.
Perfectly. Right. So yeah, again, what you said, you know, Grant Cardone, Tom Kroll, massive and perfect action, go out there, get it done, start making some money. And then, you know, just documenting what you're doing, whether you do it on video or with a notepad or an Asana or, you know, whatever the other thing was.
I'm hearing somebody right now in my mind say, like, well, Keith, this is, because I always preach, you know, Tom calls it revenue in first position. I have my first rule is fast money comes first. Other people will say, put your time into IPAs, income producing activities. All of these things are correct. I do not disagree with them. It's literally my rule number one and Tom's rule number one. However, if you don't do this, then you cannot delegate this task. Therefore, you can never leave that task to somebody else and go do the income producing activities. You have ultimately, you have to get these things off of your plate, and you're literally setting somebody else up for failure. And please, I hired a team of 18 virtual assistants.
Oh my goodness.
And help me. And our overhead for like more than a year was about $13,000-$14,000 paying these folks.
Dude, I'll trade you my 80 for your 13.
Oh, I know. I've been there too, just last year. But here's the reason why I bring up that story is because I didn't have anything documented, and I was more or less just hoping and trusting and praying that they would do everything. And the problem with that was they didn't. I couldn't hold them accountable. I wasn't monitoring what they were doing. And if I could go back, quality control, I just totally set those people up for failure.
So that's we're coming up on 20 minutes here, but I just want to get this out. I know that's a mistake that so many people make when they hire somebody, or they especially hire a virtual assistant, is they think, oh, I'm hiring this person in, I'm going to plug them into the spot and I'm going to give them a little bit of information, but you have to train these people. You have to invest in them. You want them to run your business and produce income. It's, you know, it's not a one-time, I'm done, right? You need to train them. You need to create these SOPs, and you need to go back and manage them and see if the system is working and all that. So that was a very fast 20 minutes, Keith. I know we got about 30 seconds left.
That was good.
You do this. I know you coach a lot of people, and you have a lot of ways that people can work with you. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Do you have a website, social media?
There's going to be two places, www.reiautomated.io/demo will give you a 23-minute demo of what we do, how we do it, deep dive into it. And then you can also hit me up on my LinkedIn.
Okay. LinkedIn's the best spot?
Yeah, Keith Gillespie.
Awesome. Keith, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. We're coming in right at 20 minutes.
Welcome.